Make sure to download Module 7 zip file and unzip it. We're coming up to midterms, so make sure that you have any work that was done up to Module 6 that received partial credit. Make sure you revise it and upload to Talon. There's a folder called Last Minute Midterm Revisions. If you just upload to that folder. So today we're going to look at using existing images to make a three-dimensional model. In this example here, I was able to take these elevations and create a three-dimensional model in SketchUp and color it with the material choices that the client had. We're going to use the images provided by the architectural drawings to help us create this window. So this is the image, it's in your PDF. Basically, we're seeing the window and how it's divided up into 6 panels. We're seeing that it almost goes all the way across to the wall. These darker lines are the wall. This lighter line right here is the baseboard. And this funny shape here, well, that's the soffit. So the way this section was cut, or how they want to show the overall view, is they cut it at the soffit area. So they're showing the soffit area there. And of course, these are some notes that some key notes that they had. So we'll take this image and put it on our model. Let's go ahead and open up our hotel. So what we're going to do is we're going to view this wall without all this stuff in the way. Select the top view here, so we're looking down on it. And what we'll do is we're going to go into the wall component. Now when we go into the wall component, you can see we're still seeing the furniture pieces and so forth. So I'm going to want to go to View, Component Edit, and make sure we have Hide Rest of Model selected. And you can see once we do that, we don't see the floor and the furniture. So we want to use a crossing, and that's going from right to left to get the wall portion that's in front selected. We only want to see that back wall. And then right click, hide. And click on the front view, and it looks something like this. Make sure that you can see the baseboard and that you haven't hidden too much. If you did, click undo and then do the previous step again. Now, even though we don't see the walls, they're there. They're just hidden right now, and we want to hide them so we can see this wall clearly. So now we're going to go to File, Import, and go to our folder where we have the Module 7 images to components. And inside there's something called Curtain Wall BMP. Select it and make sure that we bring it in as a texture. Remember, if we bring it as an image, it comes in almost like a poster on the wall, and we're not matching the photo. We'll take a look at that later in this session. Click on Import, and then click on the surface here. Don't go right to the corner right yet. Kind of float it a little bit on the surface. And we're still in the component. So click, move, and about like here, click again. So depending on how large you made the image, it will repeat differently. And you can see it's starting to repeat over here, it's starting to repeat down here, because we brought it in as a texture. Right click, texture, position, and the pins show up. And we've used these in the past. So again, looking at the pins, fixed pins versus unfixed, we've been using primarily the red and the green pins. Each pin is its own separate distortion. The red one moves and the green one scales, and these two are skew and distort. We're only going to need to have these two, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom up, and I'm going to click this to pick it up, and then I'm going to put it right here, trying to see where that pin would be, right above the baseboard. So click to pick up, and then right here, click to put down. I'm kind of looking for like a little blue dashed line across here. You'll see it when you line these up exactly, you'll get this little blue dashed line, and that's what we're going to want. Then click and drag to the top of the baseboard of the model. So we selected the top of the baseboard of the image, and now we're clicking and dragging to the top of the baseboard of the model. Next, we'll click on the green pin and drag it to the other corner. This will scale the image up. Right click, done. So now the texture is applied onto that surface and we can work with it. I'm going to use the rectangle tool to make a rectangle that includes the window. So here's a rectangle tool, or you can type in R for rectangle. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to go click. And I'm going to zoom out to all the way to here. Notice I didn't go to the other side of the wall totally. I went to here because that's where the edge is of the window. Click. If I use a space bar and select it, it can all be selected and not the whole surface, just the window portion. Right click, make component. I'm going to go ahead and call it window. I'm going to make sure that's selected, which it should be. And I'm going to just take off any sort of markings whatsoever. I do not want to cut an opening. I always want it to face the camera or anything like that. Just get all those off. We don't need those. Hit create. So let's double click in this component. And once I do, the rest of the background goes away as well, right? We have hide rest of model selected, so the rest of the model is hidden. It's still here, we just don't see it, and that helps us kind of focus on this surface. So go ahead and use the offset tool, and then when you get to the edge, you see the surface gets selected. Click and drag inward, let go of your mouse, type in 1.5 and press enter. And I chose 1.5 because that's one standard width of a frame. And you can see that the image lines up pretty close. You got to understand the image is a raster image, so it's created with a bunch of pixels. So if you zoom up really tight, I mean, you can see the line becomes pixelated, and so it's kind of hard to see. It's sometimes better to go to monochrome mode, which is this one right here. Click on that, and you can see now we can see the line very clearly. So I need to divide this portion into 3 equal sizes. All the mullions are 1.5. So what I'll do is select these 2 lines here, these top 2 lines. So select the one of them, hold down the control key, and select the other. You might need to zoom up on this. And then M for move, and I'm tap the control key. I'm going to go all the way down to here, and 3 divide, enter. And now these are equally divided. Now we've got some extra lines here. I'm going to go E for erase, and I'm going to kind of get rid of that one and that one there, as well as this one and this one. Clean the model as you go, and it'll work out better. Let's scroll out now and draw a line to divide this in half. So L for line, click this midpoint here, click, go all the way down to here, click. Hit the space bar and select just that line. So I'm doing a window select. M for move, click, and I'm going to go in this direction on the red, 3/4, half the distance, press enter. And then I'm going to tap the control key and click and go in the red again, the opposite direction, 1.5, enter. So now we started with the midpoint of this framing, went half the distance one way, and then the full distance the other way. And now we've got the right piece centered on the midpoint of that opening. And so now we can go ahead and either use the eraser tool or the select delete method to get rid of all these little extra lines. I would zoom up though either way. So select delete, we use the select, we select the line, hit the delete key on the keyboard. Or the eraser tool, just kind of zoom up and make sure you get the right line. So you definitely want to clean up the edge so it's nice and smooth and there's no extra lines there. It's good to do that periodically as you work through the project. All right, so let's go ahead and orbit a little bit here so you can see a little bit better what we're doing. P for push pull. Select this surface here, click and go into space, 6 inches, and then double click these other panes. Then we go ahead and orbit to the back side, tap the control key. This will make a push pull copy and type in 8, press enter. Then we got this dimensions from that section that we had in our PDF. So you can see here, it says it's an 8-inch anodized aluminum curtain wall system, and you can see how the window glass is in its position. And I guesstimated roughly it's about 6 inches in from the 8-inch overall system. Continuing to work on this, we now have to give it some material. And notice that all of these are front faces, except for the glass. And that's because I made the glass a single pane. And so this is okay if it's going to be a single pane of glass. Some places would give it the thickness of the glass, but in this model it's not really essential to do that. If we take a look and get it out of monochrome mode back into shaded mode, you can see that our glass dimensions are kind of where they need to be, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of this particular material. So I'm going to use the eyedropper in Paint Bucket tool to pick up this material, and it'll show up here. If you click on the home button, you can see it right there. I'm going to right click, delete. And so I've gotten the material now taken out. It's just default material. And now I'm going to replace that with a metal material. So now scrolling down here, we're going to select metal. And I'm going to pick the first metal tool. That looks like aluminum pretty well. It's got an aluminum kind of look to it. And I'll just tap the control key and click on the surface, and everything has been painted that particular metal tone. Then I'm going to go to the glass, and I'll pick the first glass box basic, and then make sure I have tapped the control key so it's not on. You don't want all glass, you just want these particular panels that I'm selecting. Looking at the back side, you can see that it's not transparent. Sometimes when you're adding glass, it happens that both sides get transparent. Sometimes you have to paint the other side. To the space bar, and then click out of the component, and you can see now we've got our wall back here, and you can see that the wall's covering the window. So what we've got to do is we've got to go and actually pull the wall through. So I'm going to do R for rectangle, and I'm going to click from here, click all the way back to here, click. So it's the same hole we did before. I'm going to select this window, right click hide, so we can just see that square better. P for push pull, click, and we'll go back until I touch this surface here, click, and now I have a hole. So I'm going to go to edit, unhide last. So there's my window, but look what the window did. It slid all the way out here. You see that? It went past the hole. There's the back of the wall right here. So I'm going to select the window, M for move, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to move it back in position, flush with the inside face. At this point now I can go to edit, unhide all, and I can see the walls come back again, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and use B for Paint Bucket, tap the Alt key to get the eyedropper, tap the Control key to select all these white surfaces, click, I've painted it back the material color. So the window has got that metal surface. The glass is clear, right? So we can see through it. And now we've got the wall painted, so it's matching like it should. If I click out again, you can see now we see all of our pieces are here. So we made this window the correct size in the correct location based off a drawing. So the model at this point, save it, and we're going to start working now on another piece, the table, right? That little table there, and we're going to use the image of the table as a guide. So let's look at this particular video, how to import images into SketchUp, and we'll follow the steps similarly.
Once the image is applied to the surface, you can use the fixed push pins to adjust it. But for images, the free pin mode is quite useful. First, context click or right-click on the surface and select Texture Position. Then context click on the material and make sure that Fixed Pins is unchecked. You're now in free pin mode. You can move the image around by dragging the mouse cursor on the image. But in free pin mode, each pin acts as a distort pin. This allows you to quickly stretch an image across a surface like you would stretch a skin across a drum. Often you will want to place the pins at exact photo locations to allow precise control over image distortion. To reposition a pin on the photo, Click the mouse on the pin to pick it up. Watch the sharp point of the pin. Now move the pin to where you want and click the mouse to push the pin onto the photo at that location. You will find that use of the Zoom Window tool is quite handy for this. Zoom in, pick the point, then zoom previous. Now let's have some fun. Drag each pin to an edge to locate it exactly to the model geometry. Here I'm picking the midpoints to anchor the image uniformly across the surface. Notice that you can move the pins to eliminate the perspective distortion of the photo. I'll leave the pins at the eaves in place, but I'll readjust the perspective at the base of the birdhouse. Thus creating an orthographic paint for that surface. At any time, you can toggle between free pin and fixed pin mode by depressing and holding on the Shift key. Let up and you're back in the operation mode you had set. If the inference engine for placement gets in your way, simply hold down the Control key or Option key on the Mac to turn it off while placing a pin. Context click, right-click, and select Done to exit Position Texture mode. Now you can model directly to the image. I'll place an edge along the ridge line, which is the middle of our box. Now I can use the Move tool and Inference Lock in the blue direction and slice away part of the photograph. Same on the other side. I'll align it to the other eave. Then I can Inference Lock over to the other side. Let's push-pull this in on the sides. The texture can be wrapped around a corner by eyedropper selecting Alt key or Command key with the Paint Bucket tool on the position texture. Notice the square around the eyedropper tip. This indicates you're selecting a placed texture. This selects it for painting. Now let up on the Alt or Command key and click to paint the texture on the side face. The texture is wrapped around the corner. Continue to context click, right-click on the side texture to reposition it. I'm going to pick points on the far end of the roof plane. Remove the perspective distortion and resize it to match the face. Let's do the same on the lower part of the birdhouse. I'll take this point and move it to the bottom. This point, move it up under the eave. But notice it's not finding the point. I can just orbit, and now I can pick that point exactly. Using this method, you can create quite accurate models from as few as one photograph. And there's our beautiful birdhouse. Oh look, there's the proud owner of a new birdhouse designed in SketchUp.
So again, looking at the pins, fixed pins versus unfixed. So we've been using primarily the fixed pin mode and the red and the green. And this time we'll do the unfixed pin mode, where you can stretch and drag in any direction. And let's go to File, New, to start a brand new file. You can see the person there. And we're going to make some assumptions about the shape. We're going to look at it. I think it's going to be a 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot cube is the overall shape. So we're going to go R for rectangle. I'm going to click at the intersection right here in this corner right here. Click, move across diagonally. I'm going to type in 2 foot, comma, 2 foot, enter. Then P for push pull, click and go up, let go of my mouse, 2 foot, enter. I could have also typed in 24, comma, 24, and then 24 because there's 24 inches in 2 feet. If the box looks something like this, I can go ahead and delete this person. Don't need to have that person in this particular model. And at this point, let's go File, Save As, and go ahead and say yes. There's really nothing to purge. Well, we purged the person out, so we'll have that. And go to your SketchUp folder, click Assignments. Let's go ahead and new folder, Module 7. Double click to open it up. And let's call this Hotel Table, and then your initials. It's good to save periodically as you work in case something happens to the computer. We'll go to File, Import, go back to your lectures, Images to Components, and there's a table JPEG that we're going to use. And in this case, we're also going to put it in as a texture. Import. Now, I'm going to click on the front surface here, click and go up to here, click, just to put on that surface. This will be the front of this table. Right click, texture, position. In this case, I'm going to right click over the pins and deselect fixed pins. So now these pins can be put on any part of the image and stretched in any particular way. So I'm going to zoom up here. I'm going to click the first one, click to pick up. And again, this is a raster image, so we're going to have to guess some of these things. Click. So I'm saying that's roughly where the top of that is. Click to pick up. And I'm going to go over here and click to put down. And then click to pick up here. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of put it to this corner here as best I can. If possible, it'd be good to try and line it up with this one up above. If sometimes we can get that little blue line, and you can barely see it in this image because it's very dark, but there's a slight blue line here. Click. And then this last one, I'm going to want to kind of, again, line it up with above and do my best guess to where that's going to be. This is not the best picture. We kind of guesstimate it's going to be lining up here, it's going to be lining up there, it's going to come up from above. And so then we click and drag. As you click and drag, you can see we're stretching this picture to fill up this area. And the picture is going to be kind of a guide. It's going to look something like this. I already can see there's a little bit off here, so I'm going to click here to pick it up, move it over. So just click and drag. So we're going to have a glass top here. We're going to have some wood here. It looks like there's a void here. I can see it right now. There's a little void here. And again, I'm just doing the best I can. I think maybe this could have gone down a little bit further. Now I'm going to think about how the piece would be constructed and create some guidelines that I can use. I'm going to try and keep it within a quarter increments. So I'm looking at this picture and kind of saying, well, what does it look like roughly? And it's going to look something like this. The glass is set down. You can see there's a little shadow here. So the glass is set down. There's some width here. This goes all the way down. This goes all the way down. And then there's this center piece that's kind of put in there. And there is a gap. I can see there's a shadow gap. We saw that when I stretched it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these dimensions. There's a 0.25 insert at the top, 1.5 for the top glass thickness, a 10.5 opening here, and a 1.25 opening from the bottom. So this is whatever's left over. And the sides, I'm going to come in 1.5. That's about what I would imagine this piece would be. I mean, if I was imagining this piece and doing that. Now, if I knew what this was, I'd use the numbers from the manufacturer. I have a feeling this is a custom piece designed specifically for this place. So we'll do that, bring in these guidelines. So right click done, T for tape measure. I'm going to come in the sides, click come across 1.5. Click here, come across 1.5. From the top down, click come down 0.25. Then we're going to click this line, come down 1.5. Then from this point down, 10.5. And from the bottom up, 1.25. So if I go back to just monochrome view, it's going to look something like this. So I'll click away to deselect the face. I'm going to want to keep this glass separate from the wood portions of this project. And so what I'll do is I will make a rectangle. Click here, click to here, click. Another one here, click to click. And one here, click to click. And then I'll just do P for push-pull. Select the surface, click, move it back in space to here, click. This bottom one I can just double click, and there you go. My wooden elements are ready to go. I'm also going to want to give a little bit of space here. This is perfectly lined up. So I'm going to want to move this in 1/16 of an inch, 1/16. I'll do the same thing on the back. Oop. See, the back's not broken up yet. So I'll just draw a line from here to here, and a line from here to here. P for push-pull, and go back about 1/16. And that will create that slight, barely visible shadow line, which will be so important for the rendering to make it more realistic. If we zoom up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and clean up these little spot here, and then the same down here. I've chosen to separate the wood and the glass portions of this model to make it easier to work with them independently. I'm going to want to do something special to the glass, and I don't want it to stick to the other parts of the model. So I'm going around. Again, cleaning the model is going to be really helpful. If I don't do this now, when I texture the surfaces, I might miss this spot, in which case it'll print like a white square there. Now, once I do that surface, the whole surface will be selected all at once. All right, so let's do the glass next. R for rectangle. And I'll zoom up here, click. I'll go over to here, click. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to double click, right click, make component. And I'm going to call it table glass. Make sure that none of this is clicked. Make sure that's clicked. Click create. And now that's a separate component. I can select it, move, click, and go back in the green 1/16 of an inch, just like the bottom here. Double click, P for push pull, and I'll click the surface right here. Click. So we get that same little shadow line on both pieces. Let's take a look at an example of real life of how thick glass looks. You can take a look at how the edge of the glass coloring is different than the face of the glass coloring, and that there's a little bevel there to catch us a little bit of that light. We want to mimic that in our project. It is attention to these small details that make a render very realistic. Now that we've got the glass in place, I'm going to go to Edit, Delete Guides, and get them out of the way. Again, as we work on a project, I typically like to clean up and delete the guides I'm not needing. So I can zoom in now, double click on the glass, because we want to get that bevel into the glass. So T for tape measure, click here, come across 3/16. Click here, come down 3/16. Come here and come up 3/16. What I'll do is I'll create a little bevel here, click, click, and one here, click, click. So I will select the path, select the follow me tool, select the little wedge. Select the path, select the follow me tool, select the wedge. And then edit, delete guides. So we are done with the modeling. So let's get out of monochrome mode. And you can see that, the textures got kind of strange laid out. And so what I want to do first before I retexture this is just get rid of this texture altogether. So if you go to materials over here, again, if it's minimized like this, I'll open it up. But go to materials right here. And you see the picture right there? Right click and delete. Now say, hey, it's being used. Yeah. Put it to default material. Once you're done with the modeling, go back to the default material and then put the textures on. That's the best procedure. So we do have some textures that were created that I can use on this surface, and it's in our folder. So we go File, Import. If you go back to your Module 7 folder, there's the wood grain light. Make sure you select it as a texture, Import. And now I'm going to go over here this side, click down here, go up to here, and that's going to be scaled properly. B for Paint Bucket Tool, tap the Alt key, click. Again, tap the Control key, paint the entire surface. And I just want to take a look and see if this looks about right. And I think it looks pretty good, the way it came in. Look at the back side. That's another good plus for having the glass separate, right? If I had used the Control key with the glass being part of this model, it would also get all that wood tone there. So now we can go ahead and paint the glass itself. So I'm going to double click to go into the glass component. And in materials, I'm going to click here and select glass as one of my options. I'm going to go ahead and grab that first glass. And then again, tap the Control key and select that whole top surface. I'm going to change some of the properties here. So I'm going to rename this from the regular glass basic name to glass face. And we'll go ahead and hit edit. I'm going to change some of these properties here. The color of the glass I'm looking for is 200, 100, a little bit more green actually, and 16. And then scroll down, the opacity at 25. You can see it's given it a certain kind of coloring to it that is more indicative of how that glass would look like in real life. The edge has to be a different coloring. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click this, make a new material. And I'm going to call it glass edge. And then scroll down. For opacity, I'm going to do 75, right? The edge is much deeper color than the surface. Click OK. And now I'm going to kind of zoom up here and make sure I get only the edges of this glass. Go to View, Component Edit, Hide Rest of Model, so I can go ahead and grab all the different facets right here. Darker edge makes a difference when it gets into a rendered mode. So this looks pretty complete here. So I'll go to File, Save As. And you want to put it in your Assignments folder under your Module 7 and call it Hotel Table and your initials. Let's go ahead and open the hotel. And then what we'll do is we're going to put right in here that little table. File, Import, Hotel Table, and click. And now we've got the hotel furnishings all done. I'm going to go ahead and use the Select tool, right click, Entity Info. Make sure I put it into the furniture tag so that we have control over that. Now what you do is go ahead and insert your checkerboard in here. Go File, Import. Let's go ahead and now that was in assignment number 5. So click Import and just put it right on top of there. There you go. You might need to, let me take a look here a second. Is it floating? You might need to orbit, make sure it's not floating, but it looks to me like I got it right on the surface and it looks great. Go ahead and select it, right click, Entity Info, and again, make sure it is in the furniture tag. And that way, when we make the furniture not visible, it's also going to be not visible. If by any chance you haven't been able to get a checkerboard completely done, you can also import a chess set from the 3D warehouse. Go ahead and go to Window, Model Info, Statistics, Purged Unused, and anything that's not being used will be removed out of here. And so we're looking for the checkerboard in place, the table in place, the furniture in place, the window in place. Upload that to Talon when you're done. And this is one of the assignments that cannot be turned in late. We can actually model similarly to what we did in the table. We could do entire buildings that way too, especially if you know a certain size of one thing. For example, this whole shape was determined based off of the size of that door. So they knew the size of the door and they were able to kind of extrapolate that from the photograph they had. Same thing here. This furniture piece is found in Kirkwood was modeled based off of the information gotten from this image right here and this view over here. Similarly, a match photo is where you can take a series of photographs and create a three-dimensional object. And then this link will take you to the step-by-step. We won't have a chance to do that in this class. We don't have much time, but it's a similar kind of process as what we did already with the hotel table. We also want you to continue working on your bedroom. You've gotten to this point by now, and let's go ahead and add some of the coloring, add some of the pieces of the furniture, including posters or pictures on the wall. We also want to make sure you have the tags set up properly. Try and match colors of your bedroom. You can use that color cop feature that we saw in a previous assignment. Look at your photographs and just kind of estimate the color. Get the furniture in place from the 3D warehouse. Try and find things matching the existing. Paint them a color, and again, matching the existing. And make models of the posters or the photos you have on your walls. If by any chance you don't have anything on your walls, you can go online and see if you can find a poster that you like and make sure you have the dimensions for it, and you can use that instead. What I'm looking for is that you can actually create a three-dimensional object that's to scale. You may have a photograph like this originally taken. It's not a very good photograph from that angle. Stand more in front of it and look at it straight on. It'll be better to do it that way. You won't get as accurate. Make sure you measure your picture and that you make your model to size. And then you make yourself a component. You can put it on the wall. You need to upload your completed bedroom model to date, and I'll be able to look at some posters on the wall. I'll be able to look at your tags. You're going to upload the SketchUp file, and then you'll need to also upload some images of your bedroom. Another video assignment will prepare us for the next class and so forth. We're going to be starting to work with scenes and styles in the next few classes, and so I'll make sure you get up to speed on that. Assignment recap at the end. Make sure to take advantage of that last-minute revisions drop box by turning in any assignments from the beginning of the class up to Module 6 that receive partial credit. So make sure to revise them properly and upload them to Talon by the date noted. Look at those Square One learning videos. They prepare us for the next session. And then submit to Talon the hotel model and also your bedroom model. And take a look at all the requirements on that list. Make sure you touch base on everything. And if you have any questions, don't forget to reach out.